Listeners, jackals, delegates, to 372 pages. We'll never get back. I am Connor Listoka, joined here by Mike Nelson. Mike, it's time to start a new book, and boy, do we have a book for our listeners here.
What have we done? How did we get? We've done 20 books?
Yep, this is 21.
And then we broke it on 21. Like, everything is destroyed. The world, the universe, all matter has been destroyed by this book. The choosing of this book. And the fact that minds are going to be trying to comprehend it is, I don't know. I don't even know what to say.
I used the phrase, what have we done on Friday, when I posted a still from the movie Cats, which we're about to be working on at Rift-Trax. And what have we done? I think very much applied here. What you said, do you say heads would be exploding or minds would be blown? Like, I just think I thought about how a guy I used to know would write reviews of fanfic. Rob Bricken would write them on IO9, and he would just get to parts of them and he would just post the picture of the guy's head exploding in scanners. Just when, when something insane would happen in the fanfic, and there'd be somewhere he'd use it just back to back to back. And that's what this book is. Just so many moments of the head exploding by what you just read that this 70-year-old man wrote.
Yeah, as I was reading it, your head exploding thing, I must have come up with like 10 different versions of that. Like, this is like when, and I would think of another thing that it was like, because it can't be contained by any single thought.
And what we're referring to, of course, is the book Super Constitution by Charles Kim. And, we've read a lot of crazy books on here. But I don't know if you can really compare it to anything like this. It just, I sent you the picture of Ron Burgundy after the fight that they get in, where he's just lying back in his chair holding a beer, just disheveled. Yeah. And that was me on page 10 of this.
Here's one thing I thought of. So for the last insane book, because it was pretty insane, the Winston Groom book,
Gump and Company,
Gump and Co.
Gump and Co.
We went to the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company at the Mall of America. What in the name of hell would we do for this?
Oh my God!
I don't even want to. There's a lot that could happen here.
And I mean, you would have to go roam the earth if you tried to live out a scene from this first 4 chapters of this book. I think you would have to be like the guy in Kung Fu and just. I mean, and there is Kung Fu in this book too, but that's not even what I'm talking about. You have to abandon your principles and your life and your family to go if you had reenacted Super Constitution, which is crazy because the book is called Super Constitution. And based on the
parts where you're reading, going how Super Constitution, keep looking at the front cover,
right? Because for the front cover gave front and back cover both gave over detailed descriptions of what in theory happens in this book on them, to the point where we were like, leave something for surprise, and then bam, he just hits you with a sucker punch of the actual plot of the book.
If I had, after we had done all of that, like we were introduced to the book, we did our due diligence, then of course we read the front and back, we introduced the book, we, like you said, read all the reviews we could, not that there are many. Mm-hmm. And then you're reading it going, how did this happen? What more could we have done to discover that this is a vastly different book than I would have ever possibly imagined what we did.
Yeah, it is like how audiences believed that Psycho was going to be about who's the woman who gets stabbed in the shower? Who's the actress who... Janet Leigh?
Yes.
So,
yep.
That's the old cliche is that audiences went to see that movie and they thought she was going to be the main character, and then she gets killed off in the shower 20 minutes in or whatever. And that's... he pulls the old rope-a-dope on his readers, Charles Kim does in this one as well.
I wonder if he thought he was doing that, though. I don't know.
So, I mean, we'll get into it because the switcheroo happens very quickly. But just to recap, this is the book Super Constitution. It's presented itself as a work of science fiction and appears to be on that course very early on. But it is written by Charles Kim. We don't know a ton about him. He's a I believe he was in his late 60s or 70 years old when he wrote this book in 2006, we determined. And he had moved here from Korea in the 60s and then made his career as in the field of costume jewelry, as the bio says in the book. And a listener did discover that the book had been translated into Korean, but 4 years after this book, after the English version came out. So there is a Korean version out there that could be a big collector's item. But it puts to rest the thought or fear that this could have been, written in Korean and then poorly translated to English, because it was actually the reverse is what happened.
Yeah, I was very concerned about that. A few paragraphs in, like, oh dear, this is just something that's been filtered into a translating software
right.
and then back out, and so therefore it's not it's not really fair to read it.
Exactly.
So very, very relieved to discover no, this is an earnest attempt to write a book in the language in which it is written.
Yes, and you're going to hear some phrases, some turns of phrases, some sentences that have never been used before. So this is really its own thing, even though there are some surprising tie-ins to other books we've read, I think, and we will. I think we can get right into it. We might as well, right?
Yeah, let's go.
It starts
chapter 1.
Yeah, article 1. These are laid out as articles, I guess, because theoretically this is a book about the Constitution, though. We're really just gonna just touch the faintest tip of that iceberg here in these first 4 chapters.
Glad you said iceberg.
Yes. Well, it starts. I mean, I think we covered this in the intro episode, but it starts with this nicely Criswellian from Plan 9 summation. The story begins in the early summer of the year 2016. Any event or story before the summer of 2016, therefore, is in the past. So when you start by explaining how time works to the reader here, it's off to a hell of a start.
Once again, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. All the sentences come roaring back to you. This one's a barn burner.
And this begins by introducing the president of China, who's in his office, and we get just a little introduction to him here. It quickly shifts away, but it provides a very intriguing sort of. This is like one of those things that like a Game of Thrones starts with this book. It's a little aside in the very beginning. But the president is contacted by Miss O'Hara from the star O'Hara, 21 light years away from the Earth. The voice was so clear. The president hears a voice saying that I'm Miss O'Hara from a star O'Hara 21 light years away. And the president's first instinct, he wondered whether there was a misplaced talking toy around the corner.
What? That was my first note too. What happens in the president's office? Maybe it was the weekend and bunch of kids over, and
yeah, he's making some cash on the side, running a daycare out of the office on the weekend. Someone left one of those little like cymbal monkeys that chatters its teeth and bashes them together. But
are you saying Presidential Day Camp is a new movie?
There we go, 4th in the series.
That's right. Yeah, he hears someone saying, I'm Miss O'Hara from the star O'Hara, thinks it's a toy. All right. You elected him. He's not my president.
I hope that it's a coincidence that Miss O'Hara is from the star O'Hara. I hope it's one of those things she's always having to explain, like if you lived on Nelson Street or something.
That would be great if it was always a parenthetical, no relation.
Right. Look, to explain it to you, it would cause you to go mad. We're hyper advanced. Like, don't worry about it.
Right.
But the president is a bit of a jokester, so he's confused by this, and he says. O'Hara says, the important thing is we have a serious communication between you and me. And the president responded in a joking manner, what kind of communication are you talking about?
Mr. President, come on, stop that.
Yeah,
I mean,
right, yeah.
Funny as hell, but not the time. It's not a toy any longer.
It could be in the delivery, I suppose. I don't know. But then, very quickly, she says, Mr. President, you have to listen to me and follow my instruction to save this beautiful Earth. And he says, Miss O'Hara, please wait a minute. he became a little serious and pushed a button to call his secretary. The secretary appeared swiftly and asked the president what to do as she approached the president's desk. Still in a joking manner, he directed his pretty young secretary to have a seat. So he's just all over the map here. A little serious, joking at the same time.
How do you direct? I tried to figure that out. How do you direct someone to have a seat in a joking manner? I mean, so why don't you, is he doing like the Steve Martin arms, back and forth? Why don't you have a seat?
Or he's pointing at the seat while going, beep, 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 beep.
I guess. Sir, I don't see a toy around. Could you please get a little serious?
I know. That's the thing, is that it's not a toy. I thought the exact same thing. Hot young secretary. And that we get a very good Charles Kimism here. And this is, I think, just something that probably has never been said before. But the secretary, the president says, Miss O'Hara, go ahead with your instruction. The secretary wondered whom the hell the president was talking to. So it's a very, very formal version of who the hell he's talking to.
Oh, that was beautiful. Yeah. And so the mechanical voice goes on. And this is when things get very, very serious.
Okay.
And speaking of escalating quickly, so he's talking to he's determined it's not a toy. All right. I'm still joking around. What do you got for me? Here's what you have to do. What if I don't? Well, then your important people will be killed one by one until the instruction is fulfilled. Well, that escalated quickly.
Right. Yeah. I suppose this would be one of those talking toys that gets recalled, like you pull the string on Barbie and she starts saying one by one, people will be killed until my instructions are complied with.
Wow. Also the one by one, in China.
Right.
That's quite a task.
Sure.
So that's horrific to imagine. But,
yeah, it's like that. It's like that old ethical puzzle where you get the box, you press the button, someone will die on Earth, and you'll get $1 million. It's like, well, one by one on this. You say it yourself. It's a planet of 6 billion people, so it's going to take a while before people even realize what's happening.
Right.
And she says that since several nations possess something called overkilling arsenals. That where she's worried about essentially, humanity wiping itself out. So she wants to, she's giving him instructions that is going to, I guess, prevent the Earth from destroying itself.
Mm-hmm.
But then it slips into dictionary says that genius means an exceptional capacity of intellect in creative and original work in science, art, music, etc.
Yeah.
And
there's no, yes.
So it uses the old, that cliched journalistic lead of Webster's defines courage as, the work of this, or like a high school book report kind of thing. I feel like is when the last time it's acceptable to use that sort of lead.
Yeah, or a valedictorian speech is another good place to pull that one.
Yes, exactly, which we'll get to.
Yes, we certainly will.
But, Miss O'Hara has issued this major edict to the president of China, and I think that she says Russia and the U.S. have already been given similar edicts, but then it goes straight into a lengthy definition of the term genius. Yes.
But before that, let me just give you a little... So that was about as straightforward as it's going to get. The toy talking to him in a corner, a secretary sitting down. Those things are somewhat clear.
Yeah.
But before that, before the genius thing comes in, those countries' leadership could not catch the point in a tensed-up situation for anyone to be slipped into triggering a dangerous wire. Okay, I'm going to keep reading, though I have a lot of questions. Those countries' leadership could not catch the point. Oh, I reprinted the same sentence. I meant to do the sentence that comes after. I've got it right here.
I've got it. Great human civilization had been achieved through the work of geniuses.
Yes. Accordingly, could usher a safety pin for the world's peace and prosperity.
Well, sure.
So we have just the tensed up, dangerous wires, and then usher a safety pin. what are these things?
You never like leaned into the next room, just be like, honey, could you usher me a safety pin? I'm trying to replace this light bulb to...
I guess that's what it means. Anyway, that's the kind of writing that we're dealing with. So
yes,
anyway.
And we'll try to provide the highlights of that, but rest assured, it's new turns of phrases all over the place. Such as this one. Everybody wants to be a genius, but God does not give a chance. God gives it only to somebody very discriminatorily. Nobody complain, nor can anybody sue it. So you can't sue God if your kid is born not a genius.
I guess. Let me make this clear. If you are not a genius, it is not your fault, and it is not your parents' intention either.
Yeah, your parents are they didn't shell out for the gold intellect package. That's why it's
right.
I mean, it could be kind of your parents' fault. I don't know. Like,
yeah, I think it probably could be. So you're so now we're in a thicket of talking about geniuses. Mm-hmm. But Miss O'Hara, or no, what's his name? O'Hara?
Miss O'Hara from the Star
Miss
O'Hara.
Hello?
Yeah.
Where did you go?
Right. I'm trying to I'm really interested in complying with this thing. I don't want people to be picked off one by one, but the camera sort of drifted out of my office here.
It's wandering around talking about the IQs of chimpanzees now.
Yes.
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, he breaks it down. There's, about which level of people have these high IQs. And he says only 1 out of 10 million births reach over an IQ of 160, which can memorize a book of 300 pages in a day and understand labyrinthine consequences that ordinary people cannot catch. And, that's sort of laid out pretty clearly, but he's going to really make it crystal here when he gets into how this relates to fleas and snakes. Says a flea can jump 300 times of its height. An ordinary dog smells several times sharper than an ordinary human. A rattlesnake moves its tail more than a dozen times faster than the short track runner's fastest running legs. There are countless examples and existences for extraordinary talent in the living world. So you've got someone who can read a book in a day, and a flea can jump 300 times its height. Those are how those are related.
Same thing. Here's. We have the ability to. We'll put it on one of these cafe press or something. I want to put this on a T-shirt if you're ready for this. Only human world has the effect of other people's talented workmanship. Thus, the civilization came on the human being, and it keeps going on to make and maintain the human as the lord of all creations.
Bob Crane, patriotism.
That's exactly what I thought of. Yeah. But front and back of a T-shirt. I want that.
The very next sentence would be good as well, because it's something that it's very relatable. On our daily life, time and again, we often talk about a moron who has an IQ of around below 80. Often, our daily life, we find ourselves talking about a moron with an IQ below 80. I find myself doing that a lot.
John, I've got a double espresso here. Hi, John, you having a good day? Yeah. Chimpanzees. Or a moron has an IQ of around below 80.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
That's what he says. He says he could be a super genius at the world of chimpanzee, which exhibits an outstanding mental power among monkeys. So I think he's trying to be like, even a moron who we're obviously talking about all day long would be a genius in the chimpanzee world.
Yeah, I've thought about how you would actually apply that. It's really, it doesn't seem. I guess theoretically that might be true.
Sure,
but nobody has tested that out. Lived among the monkeys. And, I don't know. Maybe there's those guys who have to train the cranes in captivity, so they have to dress up like a crane so that the crane doesn't attach to it as a human or whatever. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I've seen the puppets you use to feed the condor babies.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So maybe somebody has dressed up like a chimp and lived among. I don't know.
It says the modern technology we now enjoy has only emerged in the last couple of 100 years. Furthermore, the speed of producing a higher and better performing genius is gaining a momentum, becoming faster with an increase in their numbers. And again, how are the president and the secretary doing? I heard she was pretty, and that's a question we're going to keep asking because, just to put it out there, we do cover 4 chapters in this book, and we do not hear from them again. We do not hear from the characters that the book started with in a very dramatic mandate being issued to the president of China.
So I just assume we can keep cutting back to the office, which is now emptied of the president and his secretary. We have no idea where they went, but we just hear like, hello? Yeah. I just said some pretty serious stuff. Are you still there? Yeah. Hello?
Janitor's mopping up, looking around for the toy.
Yeah.
And then the author says, Charles Kim is saying, Morris, he talks about chimpanzees some more, but then he says, anyway, let's disregard the worry of a future development of the human being's intelligent capacity. You brought it up, sir. You defined genius for 5 consecutive pages here.
I myself said, I'm happy to do that, but you did rather go on about it. I will disregard everything because I'm really having a hard time wrapping my head around it. But I do need to go talk to someone about the moron who has an IQ of around below 80.
Your phone gave you a notification that you haven't done it yet today?
That's right.
It's sort of like, if you an elderly neighbor next door, you want to make sure, see her getting her paper. Otherwise, you'll start to worry. If she doesn't come by to discuss a moron with an IQ under the age of 80, you start to be like, oh, I hope she's doing okay.
Right.
And it says, this staggering, let's talk about an eminent peculiar development of a unique technology, which is going to change our modern world by making one sovereign power possible that will govern the whole world as a single nation. This staggering undertaking is going to be accomplished not by armies and bombs and political twist, but by 3 geniuses. So this is probably where we could have started, because that's sort of what was promised on both the front and back book covers.
Yeah, we were promised Miss O'Hara. We got that.
Mm-hmm.
But left them rather quickly. So now I'm glad we're getting around to it. And I love that this is all just concurrent. I'm looking at the actual scan of the book. So again, not a big page. This is just the next paragraph. Brenda Chen was born in Hong Kong on August 15th. Okay. Camera snaps over to Brenda Chen now for a while.
Yeah, that's still Article 1. Brenda's still just like getting ready because she thought that the scene was going to go on a bit longer with the president of China.
You're not done talking about chimpanzees yet, are you?
It seemed like he got distracted. I thought I had some time, but all right, I'm ready. I'm Brenda Chen.
I'm Brenda Chen.
And Brenda Chen, this is going to get serious, people.
Brenda Chen is, I don't know how to give warnings about Brenda Chen. Because nothing could really prepare us for this.
No.
And there's a lot of questions that aren't really answered by the text, but we have to get into it. So
yeah.
This has never been a podcast for young children.
No.
But you
never has that been more true.
You might want to chase them from the room.
If any of you are kids listening because your parents saw an episode called Super Constitution and thought it would get you some like summer reading to prepare you for civics class next year, whew. This is like leaving cable descrambled in like the 90s.
Yeah, if we were doing this, if this had come up in a book called, like Benjamin Harrison or something, you're like, well, my child is working on that. Let's pull up that podcast and see what we can learn. This is not a place to learn about the Constitution.
Let's just get into it.
Let's get into it. Brenda Chen.
She left, I think, China to move to New York, or left Hong Kong. Moved to New York City with her parents as a young child. She's faced a language barrier, but soon overcame it, advancing far ahead of her peers in every subject and amusing classmates and teachers highly. Were you amused by the brightest kid in your class who was sort of a gifted learner?
The one who was always irritating everyone, yes. And doing the AV nerd, always raising the hand, sitting at the front, yes. Answering before anyone else had a chance to answer. I was always amused.
So amusing. And it says that she has gone on to attend. She skipped some years in high school, gone on to attend Brown University, Ivy League school. But she just has some trouble understanding and relating to her fellow people. She can get has a hot temper and can get frustrated with people. She's not as patient with people who are not as smart as her, it says.
She felt urging hot temper whenever she waited for somebody or something.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would just suggest if you're this type of person feeling urging hot temper, just discuss those morons that have an IQ of about below 80. That's the thing we all do to kill the time. And so you won't feel so, upset.
Maybe that's why she has such trouble, is that she just doesn't, it's like, this office small talk discussing the game on Monday. Like, even if you don't really care, you can at least be like, oh, yeah, I saw that the Niners won. Oh, yeah, great. Like, she doesn't relate to people in the discussing morons with sub-80 IQs, so that's why she's always frustrated.
Yeah, urging hot temper, sure. All right, I'm just gonna. I'll read this. It's like it's a short paragraph, okay. Just so you know. When Brenda Chen entered Brown University, a thunderous topic about her fascinating appearance and gifted talent already rumbled on through the campus. Her soaring IQ, her well-matured behavior, her extraordinarily charming face, and her strikingly attractive and sexy figure.
Nice.
Thunderous topic. The campus news reported on a big title. No exaggeration was possible to describe her outstanding attractiveness. The paper extolled her beyond a common sense, but nobody went cynical. They rather echoed the paper's words and fell in with the topic. So, I mean, through this thicket of words, I think what we've got going on here is... who was the woman in Digital
Susan
Fortress?
Fletcher much? Yeah.
I think we have a Susan Fletcher here.
Yeah.
Like, just sexy beyond words to even describe it.
A sexy, sexy lady with a soaring IQ. Like, you can understand how that's front page material at Brown University.
And nobody went cynical. No one was like, I'll believe it when I see it. Everyone was like, if you say she's extraordinarily sexy.
Or you've got the weird, guy behind his computer being like, she's a 2 out of 10. I wouldn't bang her. But even that guy might have a chance later. We'll see. But what did the headlines say here? Was the headline just like, auga?
I guess.
Hot broad on campus.
Whose byline was that?
Yeah, the editorial staff. It's one of those, just everyone got together and applauded this, the administration's admissions office for letting her in.
They used the royal we when they were describing her rack.
It's using the moon landing, 68-point headline to announce the arrival of Brenda Chen on campus. But it's not all fun and games for this incredibly hot woman with a genius IQ. She's very frustrated, and you might wonder why that might be.
Oh dear!
It's because even the growth of her sexual sensitiveness had been retarded because she did not have much time or occasions to be exposed to pornography.
This is where the book flutters out of the hands.
Ooh. And so
Bridget takes out her earbud. Are you okay?
So Charles Kim, 70-year-old costume jewelry designer, just has some thoughts about what's going on. And this starts to remind me sort of there was a guy that we used to watch his videos of who was a armchair psychologist. And every problem he would solve was chronic cold hands, insomnia. What he would do is he would have this buzzer, and he would hit this buzzer that sounded like a crappy doorbell, like zzz, and he would yell disconnect at you. So he'd go like disconnect, disconnect, and you were supposed to watch this 240p webcam of this ancient old man yelling that at you, and it would solve your problems. One of his videos was for women's sexual guilt. And I'm imagining Charles Kim watching one of those videos and being like, "This guy gets it."
To set the scene further, you usually had a decent shot of his ceiling fan and the cobwebs that accumulate.
Yeah,
how many women? And he's kind of bending in. You can kind of see the dewlap below his chin. Many women have trouble with sexual issues and guilt around them. Here's the solution. Disconnect.
Yes. And it turned out he's like a political kingmaker in Oregon or Washington or something like
a super donor, PAC donor.
His channel is down, but hopefully it lives somewhere. But so Brenda Chen, because she hasn't she didn't grow up watching porn. Has to go to see psychiatrist Dr. Christine Fox, and Dr. Fox calls this a unexpected medical jackpot. Getting this, I guess the campus celebrity into her office.
Mm-hmm.
And what she is, I mean, here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Sorry, everyone.
So this is 70-year-old Charles Kim writing. Masturbation illustrates a common sexual practice and maybe helps in ordinary maintenance of sound health for the grown-ups. Super Constitution. But so Brenda starts, getting into that. I think Dr. Christine Fox has urged her to go home and just take a little time for yourself. Eventually, she voluntarily approached porn magazine and video, increased the frequency of her self-gratification, and found the action gave her unprecedented spellbinding pleasure. How is the president of China doing, Charles Kim? And it goes into her, says it gave her unparalleled, outstanding pleasure she never experienced before in her life, and she enjoyed indulging herself every morning and every night, as well as during the day from time to time. So where is she finding time to discuss the morons with sub 80 IQs here?
Well, that's why she's feeling the urging hot temper.
So, just no question at all, the horniest character in our entire canon.
Oh, no question.
Off, like it's one of those things where you just so much hornier than every character, even combined. It's like whenever they had the wave of COVID cases that was like, and now there's like 10 million a day, and it just like it wrecked the curve of the rest, so you couldn't even see anything else. It's like that.
Yes. Yeah, it is. We have hockey sticked on horniness here in the chart.
Yes. It's Grigner, like no chance. Like Susan Fletcher, absolutely not, even though she, was so hot. Who was the daughter in Tech War?
Oh, right.
Who had the whole sexy robot of her? Beth Kitteridge.
Wow, you have a good memory.
Even I think someone corrected me on that because I was talking about I did the meme of the boyfriend being distracted by Brenda Chen and turning away from Susan Fletcher, and someone was like, "What about Beth Kitteridge?" And like,
oh, nice.
But also the Maxim the Mister and his Alicia, they were pretty horny, but this is just
pretty horny.
Yeah, it wrecks the curve. It's Barry Bonds in 2002 here.
Right. Well, let me keep that horniness going with this Dr. Kim, Grandpa. Grandpa, put the costume jewelry down, honey. The Dr. Fox, I almost misnamed Dr. Fox here, explaining nymphomania. Well, Brenda, every human being has a secreting organ of sex hormone. While some people have a very slowly secreting process, certain people have a very fast one. The gap between the slow and the fast takes place in a very wide range. When the secretion reaches to an enough level and begins to overflow back into the bloodstream, it triggers an urge of sexual desire. Little something for Daddy. Yeah. With this, the degree of feeling an urge of sexual desire also varies according to an inborn individual biological condition. Anyway, that's the kind of
Super Constitution.
Super Constitution. Secreting sex hormones.
It's so weirdly clinical and off, but also so just like basically, the cartoon wolf, but a mistranslated cartoon wolf, it seems like.
But also, three geniuses will solve the problem. What is happening? In case anyone was concerned, like she's been described as very beautiful. I mean, obviously the paper is writing articles about how hot she is, but the Dr. Fox provides this. He says, no one doubts you are going to achieve a great scholastic performance, and most feel you would become an indomitable contender for Miss Universe. So she's literally like a goddess, like just, the physical epitome of perfection. Yes. If she's going to be like, walking around on the Miss Universe stage here.
And then she goes on. However, Brenda, it seems to me you have an unexpected challenge you have to grapple with. You appear to have an incredibly high degree of sexual desire, in addition to possessing an unusually rapidly secreting organism of sexual hormone. That means you have to relieve the overflowing rapid of your sex hormone, not to bother your normal nervous system, at least 2 or 3 times a day. So she has to do this. It's physically she must do it. Everyone will go to see this, but she has like a power meter, like a video game boss, and eventually it's gonna get up, overflow, and then she has to do like the unleash the special move to bring it back down so it doesn't overflow.
And Fox brings this startling news: you can't just keep on doing what you're doing now.
Yeah.
You need 2 or 3 satyrs to keep your emotion at peace. You require real coitus to get out of its grip. So
yeah,
and she's writing this down on the prescription pad.
Yeah. I'm going to call it an order for a goat-legged fellow, a satyr. He's going to have horns. So what does that mean? Like, what is talk about a term that I didn't know growing up. Just a horny dude is a satyr.
Yeah. Yes. That's
Mr.
what she's talking about.
Right?
I guess so.
Yeah. But yeah, she says you've got to do this, and it starts to. I think Brenda leaves the office then and sort of goes about her day. But we get some more information about her, such as that she. Is an Olympic level gymnast as well.
Yeah, yes, of course.
Because her unrequited horniness starts interfering with her parallel bars techniques and routines.
Yes, and when she starts getting horny, it gripped her mind to bungle up awkwardly, which, when you're on the parallel bars, you can't be bungling up awkwardly.
Yeah, that was what Bella Caroli said to Carrie Strug before she landed that jump. He was like, all right, Carrie, I know your leg is broken, but you can't bungle this up awkwardly. Like the whole team is depending on you for this gold medal.
So we're still going on this. We're still...
Yeah,
it's just page after page of description about how extraordinary she is. However, she's got this issue that she just needs it all the time.
It really is the most cliched, job interview. What's your greatest strength? What's your greatest weakness? And people say, I'm a workaholic or I care too much type of thing.
Yeah.
She's a goddess. She's an athletic goddess, beauty goddess, genius. But, she's a little too horny. So that's the... But so she, Dr. Fox keeps working on her with it. She says the best solution hung on to retain meeting some male who would match her mentality, her appearance, and her excessive physical condition of extraordinary sexual desire. It seemed impossible in reality to find such a man. Yeah, when you put it that way, it does seem like you've set the bar pretty high.
Yeah, but it's, luckily I don't... Is she going to be able to find a horny guy? Who knows? I mean,
right, yes. On a college campus?
It's like those guys who brag about, I don't know, man, I just got to have it. Like, oh, unlike most men, you're horny? Oh, that really sets you apart.
It says she wondered what type and how many men it would take to balance her odd situation. Did she wonder that, Grandpa, writing this? And I think that's so. These chapters or articles end with very, it sort of screeches into a brick wall. He says in the next article, so he's aware it sort of breaks the fourth wall to tell you what's about to happen in the book that you're continuing to read.
Meanwhile, President's office. How we doing?
Right. Yeah. China's extraterrestrial life has been confirmed, and cars are being flipped over in the streets. A couple cults have already killed themselves. Things are just going absolutely nuts. But we're talking about Brenda Chen. But this is probably pre 2016, so it's in the past.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
That's right.
This could be a
course.
flashback. But that brings us to Article 2, which is titled Idiosyncrasy. Article 1 was titled Genius, of course.
Yes, Article 2 is Idiosyncrasy.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how this Article 2 compares to the Article 2 of the actual Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, but
pretty similar.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is, I guess we just read the preamble, the We the People stuff, and this is probably where it gets more into here's how the government's going to work. Here's the nitty gritty. And I guess we get some pretty nitty gritty stuff here too.
Oh man, this is where it gets.
Hey, I mean, we didn't write it. This is just how a unique way that this guy sees the world, I suppose, and that he thought this was what needed to be in his book, Super Constitution.
Well, it starts out with, just in case it was unclear of what we were going to get into here, because we were tipped off to it in the last paragraph of Article 1, human mentality plays a core dynamism of human civilization.
Sure.
Human instinct, however, carves out, hardens up, and niches the basic human mentality to formulate its general character, which shapes up culture and civilization. So... I hope I've made that clear. I don't think you have any questions. Let's move on.
Right. No, I don't. It's very laid out clear, and it coincides perfectly with the start of the next paragraph. Several weeks later, after Brenda Chen checked up with the designated gynecologist, which has been assigned to her by Christine Fox, she's back in the psychiatrist's office, and essentially we get a very Tommy Wiseauian sentence. And Tommy Wiseau is I think a pretty apt comparison here in terms of how he viewed how humans behave and relate to each other, and sort of the way he talked. I think you could read a lot of this book in her life in his voice, and like that paragraph you just read, I think would sound good in a Wiseau voice.
Yes.
But the psychiatrist has essentially said, well, why don't you just have a girl, Mark? To Brenda. She's just said, why do you have a guy? Just have one.
Yes.
But she has gotten these results back from Brenda's medical exams and says, the volume and speed of secreting sex hormone in your sexual organism turned up in tremendously surpassing any recorded point thus far throughout the medical institutional history.
So, if we have not made it clear, you are by far the horniest person that has ever lived or ever will live.
Yeah. Number 2 was like a 16-year-old boy whose parents forgot to descramble the Playboy channel. But you, Brenda, you're the second one. And she explains that this is not just like a mental thing, but it's like... it's like how Secretariat's heart, when they did the autopsy, it was 3 times bigger than the other horses, so he could pump so much more blood. Brenda gets some similar news here. I'm just going to take a deep breath here. You not only have an exceedingly well-controlled autonomic nervous system in the muscle tissue of your vagina, but also a fascinating skin formation on the wall of your vagina. And then that triggers this response in Brenda, changing her leg's position on the comfortable chair. Yeah, I'd probably adjust my position too if I had just gotten some news similar. But I'm going to do this. I'm going to read this part because the whole book probably hinges on this, I'm guessing. But this is the first real scanner's head exploding moment of the book, because it just is sort of a what does Charles Kim think is going on down there?
Oh my God.
All right. So yeah, if you're driving a car, I'd pull over to the side of the road. If you're, eating or drinking, make sure that your esophagus is clear of anything that might cause choking or spit taking.
If you're operating heavy machinery and you have this on in your earphones or everything, please shut the engine completely down.
Right. Make sure your Bluetooth is not if you're a pilot and you're listening to this on your headphones, don't be broadcasting over the cabin PA.
Right.
If you're the president of China, make sure that this is not going up on your teleprompter and you're accidentally going to read that. But this is the official lab report from her examination, and this is sort of how Charles Kim explains this to everybody, why she's so sexually excited but also so unfulfilled. Usually, the wall skin, I think that's a real medical term, of ordinary woman's vagina has a smooth tissue, but a scant few women develop gristles the size of a grain of rice, similar to Octopus's sucker-bearing arms, which engender extremely exciting sensation to male partner at intercourse. So, what lady wouldn't want to hear that you've got octopus octopus suckers, and that's why you're so receptive to sexual pleasure.
I think she just recrosses her legs and nods her head and goes, "Uh-huh."
Checks out. Sure, that seems like a. So again, you're just not really sure why that needed to belong in the book Super Constitution, but it's laid out there, and that's the way it is going forward.
And so finishes with more, even deeper description of the walls. Sorry. But in the case of Brenda, the combination of her extremely strong sexual desire, her incredible muscle tissue, and the peculiar skin formation, along with her fabulous intelligence and beauty, created extraordinary troublesomeness in her still burgeoning personality. Her fledgling adolescence slowly began to drive her gushing carnal desire up to her neck.
Yeah. See, that's like her meter. It's like, it's like raising up like that, and eventually it's going to be like beep, 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 approaching, like a Chernobyl thing is like, core meltdown imminent, sexual meltdown imminent.
She's the thermometer, like a cartoon thing where you see the thermometer rise and then the top blows off.
Yeah,
and
yeah, like Popeye. He's about to just be like... But the paragraph right after that one is... confiding Brenda's overwhelming natural forces, this is Christine saying this, she would become so torrentially bombarded by its intensity, causing to blur her judgment and shattering her emotional stability, she would undergo deteriorated in agony. She would go crazy to damage her healthy personality. And that's pretty much me like convincing someone in college to go home with you, being like, hey, if you don't want to... don't want to blur your judgment and shatter your emotional stability, we should probably head out right now. Otherwise, you never know. You might undergo deteriorated in agony.
Right. Well, so essentially the endocrinologists and gynecologists, they affirm the diagnosis. Get out there and start boning these satyrs.
Yeah.
Now. I'm going to write this. I'm going to write it as a prescription. Just go pick up your script at the...
Take 2 studs pharmacy. And call me in the morning. But yeah, it's exactly what they do. The Dr. Fox says you're going to need more than maybe half a dozen steady partners. So it's really just like, you could imagine like a 70s, the doctor's also very hot and being like, that's how I don't even know what the title of it would be, but like it's like a 70s porn scenario. The music starts playing as Brenda leaves the doctor's office.
And she essentially says, like it is a I don't know, Adam Sandler movie or something. Like, I don't know how you're going to make it work with all your extracurricular stuff. Well, balancing at the same time all these guys, but that's the premise of our movie, so good luck with that.
Right. One guy a day for 30 days or else they're going to demolish the orphanage?
That's what Grandpa's writing down here. So,
but just a normal book would, nothing about this is normal, but if this wasn't the most insane book we've ever read, she would leave the office and get right to that. She's been told it's very important. Your neck is going to fill up with bile if you don't start boning dudes right away. But what does Brenda decide to do? She enlists in the United States Air Force. On summer break is what she decides to do. She decided that would be another great place to meet guys. I guess, Brown is maybe just not up to her caliber. She needs these like Top Gun kind of dudes. But she enrolls in the Tomcat Aces. She joins the Air Force Cadets, and as her extracurriculum, she easily mastered all the textbooks of the Air Force Academy and demonstrated an excellent performance to handle the top-notch fighter plane. So she's also a fighter pilot now, which is highway to her danger zone. It's but this is sort of an aside. The way that it gets as much text as the Octopus suckers. That she enrolled in the Air Force during summer break, and started mastering fighter pilots.
Yes, and she starts picking out the candidates from these Tomcat Aces.
Yes, it's like a reverse tail hook.
And these are some pretty studly dudes. I have a friend who's a pilot. He brought me once to the I don't think a lot of civvies get to go to this spot. It was the flight, the core of the sending out flights for the actual Air Force at this base. Mm-hmm. So all these dudes were complete Top Gun scenario. They had just been out sweating and playing volleyball, and then they came in for this briefing. And here was me, this nerd. They're all like a head taller than me.
Right.
I've got to tell, it was very intimidating.
Right. Why do you need a chiseled jawline to fly a plane? Why is that somehow a requirement?
So I'm just saying, there was so much more. These studs were just like everywhere, and Brenda is just, I'll take that one and that one.
Yes. Yeah. How's your blood oxygen level? You going to be able to hang there? How did you, when you went to Mach 2, how did you hold up? Oh, you didn't make it? Nah, not going to work for me. I'm going Mach 3, baby.
Do octopus tentacles make you horny? Well, let me tell you something.
As she's sizing them up, she mentions that she has to study some sort of phrenology. So we're getting into 19th century quackery here as she's sizing up these Top Gun studs. She felt she became a kind of fortune teller, attempting to read sexual potential and personal compatibility in the face and frame of the candidate she put up as the first batter. So she's a sexual fortune teller, which is a pretty awesome thing to put on your... I bet someone has that in their Twitter bio.
Oh, for sure. Erotic trampling, yes. Sexual fortune teller.
And she meets a guy named Harry. The first guy, Harry Trumbull. And she's the first, Charles Kim starts referring to these as her dates, but it's essentially taking them home for dinner and just seeing what they've got, if they can do it. But it says not only Harry, but every student on campus would consider being approached by Brenda as an enjoyable surprise. So she's, the same way that, Wade Watts was a Mary Sue, where he could do nothing wrong. He memorized everything. He won all the challenges. It's just like right. Brenda is just absolutely no flaws. Everyone wants to be taken home by her.
And they, the sparks fly right away through the dialogue here. How are you, Harry? What's up, Brenda? Harry, will you do me a favor? What favor? Harry, can you come to my apartment after dinner, say around 8 o'clock? I have something to discuss with you alone.
Yeah. And then when she does come, she gets a warm reception at the door of her apartment, and Harry felt proud at Brenda's coquettish prose. So really, Mr. levels of erotic writing here. And
why he didn't come, with the pizza box and the
right? Knows, yes, her neighbors are like, she gets pizza every single day, sometimes in the morning as well. But alas, Harry, her sexual fortune phrenology did not work out so well because he's unable to perform. Brenda and Harry tried their best to revive Harry's stuff. But the stuff went on and off in half the erection.
Oh my God!
So,
Grandpa. Whoa.
So it is just imagine this guy hands you this book. Like if you've been like coming in and buying wholesale costume jewelry from him for 20 years or however long he's been in the business. It's just, it demonstrates just the weirdest interpretation of human relations, but also phrased in such strange ways.
Well, yeah. So if you worked with him, let's say you're in the back room with him, you're, epoxying fake diamonds into butterflies or whatever.
Yeah, rhinestoning up a jacket.
For hours on end. And, so what are you doing this weekend? Oh, I'm working on my book. It's, what's it about? Yeah, it's about the super constitution. The world needs, so over the course of a couple months, you get to know this person's mind and you're like, shit. And then finally he hands the book to you.
Oh, this is going to be a snore.
Like, super constitution. The guy won't shut up about how we need articles of page 14. What? You're already, this is going to be bad. I have to listen to this quack stuff.
He takes you out to lunch to ask what you think about it. You're like, let's just, can we please eat first? And he's like, yeah, sure. Let's do the tender young octopus and scallop roll. Like, no, we can't do that. Not the octopus.
And whereas he used to not think anything as he sort of put an arm behind you and ushered you through a door or something, now you're like, Let's just keep our hands to ourselves here.
Right, yeah. He's like, where are you going on vacation? I thought I'd go up to Providence, Rhode Island, do some sailing, check out the Brown campus. No! I got to write a letter. You cannot be allowed on the campus of Brown University. But so, yeah, Brenda realizes that Harry's not going to cut it. It says that she went to the next list immediately according to the plan she made. She contacted second man, third man, and finally 10th man. So I don't know if the 10th man is technically the fourth man or what. But and then it just sort of escalates quickly, and I just wrote, I honestly can't believe what I'm reading. Only one man made it at first engagement, and only 2 sessions out of 40 ones during the first month gave her more than 10 minutes, which gave her minimum satisfaction. Those 40 sessions, though, brought about a hectic month with a long list of appointments. So really just, erotic stuff there, appointments, sessions, sometimes squeezing in 2 sessions a day. 40 engagements in a month definitely noted a hell of a sessions. But for Brenda, the number of satisfied sessions dropped way below her desired standard. So just the people on Brown, they just aren't cutting it.
But no one refused Brenda's wondrous offer. Everybody watered his mouth on Brenda's approach and overture.
Oh, my God.
Only a few could barely fill Brenda's vessel, only half the brim.
Sexy talk.
But the situation developed forlorn so far. Brenda's augmenting aggressiveness, her repeated frustration, her growing despise on her dates, and her surging boldness to prey for the sake of her inexorable libido had finally shifted the crust of her genuine and gentle character.
Oh.
Her sarcastic side of her ordinary character bulged under the careful guidance of her composed intelligence. The appearance of her behavior still stilled like a giant river's quiet flowing. Grandpa, what are you trying to say?
That's right. Yeah, she begged for somebody to trample on her ever-gushing libido. It is. It makes you, put up a sign on his door. Do not buy costume jewelry for this man, because you could imagine a bachelorette party going in, being like, "We need some tiaras." Like, go down the street, buy them online for God's sake.
Yeah, I didn't think that at this point I would be begging for, hey, could you get to those tax rates we were promised?
Right. We thought we were in for something very similar to the back cover of the book, which was not going to be good, but at least it's going to be crazy. But never in a million years would you have predicted this. Although I'm not going to pretend that I didn't have to look up whether the original Constitution had any aspects of, this deep-seated horniness in it. Because they tried to make you memorize the preamble in school, but that was that was 35 years ago for me. I don't remember any of that stuff. But I went back looking, and I discovered that there was a little bit of this early Brenda, sort of like self-pleasure type of thing, an undercurrent of the whole Constitution, and this is well documented by like historians.
Well, I didn't think I would not have known that.
Yeah, no, because you always see the pictures. It's just like it's always a painting, and it's never like living history. It's always just these old guys. They're wearing wigs. They're wearing tricorner hats. But no one thinks about like what they were doing once they left Constitution Hall. Yeah,
no, they were obviously in these paintings, they're posing heroically.
Yeah, like arm
staged.
Up, leg up. Yes. Yeah, shouting, "Give me liberty" or "Give me death" type of thing. But no, there's really some exciting undercurrents of tension in these things, and there is a entire section of the dark web where people like sort of explore this like erotic constitutional history of like,
wow,
really? of potential first ladies, like what they wanted of the, but there's also the guys who, didn't really, have anything to go home to, and say they were a little focused on the early Brenda, twice a day, sometimes in the morning type of self-pleasure.
Oh dear. Yeah. I never thought about that.
But believe it or not, it's very popular on the dark web, and they like really get into reenacting it. And I found one. We've had a lot of sort of, filth already. So I tried to find one that was a little more reserved, but this is, it sort of is set right as they're about to sign the Constitution. It just sort of casts everything in a whole new light.
So then it is settled. On this day, gathered here in Philadelphia,
we will ratify the Constitution of these independent United States. Truly, it is a monumentous day for liberty. Now, unless there are any objections, I, James Madison, will sign the document. Then the rest of the delegates will proceed in order.
Yes, excuse me. Hello.
What is it, Mr.
Spate. Richard Dobbs Spate.
Of course, Mr. Spate. The chair recognizes the delegate from North Carolina.
I was just wondering if we might have a 5-minute recess. Maybe just 3 if I really focus.
A recess, but we're about to sign the Constitution.
Yes, but this is such a historic moment. I feel like we could all take a moment to jack our thoughts and to gather our thoughts. Really take in the moment, for future generations.
Well, I suppose that might not be a bad idea.
And I call the bathroom first.
You're going to gather your thoughts in the bathroom.
Yes, and don't knock on the door. It interrupts my concentration. You know what? In fact, don't mill about the general earshot area of the bathroom at all.
Well, I don't think anyone was going to.
I'd like to propose an amendment.
We can't amend the Constitution. We haven't even signed it yet.
I propose the First Amendment say, no barging into a delegate's private quarters when you've left for the afternoon, but then you come back a few minutes later because you forgot something. You need to, yell really loud from outside the room before you just turn the knob and walk back in.
Kind of think the freedom of speech would be more fitting, but we'll be happy to debate that.
Bait? Why'd you say bait? Nobody's baiting. No, not me, that's for sure. Now let me go use the bathroom.
Delegate Spate, you seem a bit flustered.
Maybe another amendment that says, if your wife doth findeth the textile catalog under your mattress, that it's possible that it just got there by accident.
I don't think we need to use terms like doth or findeth. We're not town criers.
Yeah, she can't make a big deal out of it and make you sleep in the stable because you had dog-eared one of the pages where the wood carving of the model kind of looked like your sister.
That is, again, possibly something you need to discuss with your wife. I don't think it needs to be one of the founding tenets of our government.
Look, can I just go use the bathroom?
Why is it so urgent?
Because Goody Smitherton just walked by that window and she was wearing a dress that stopped just above her ankle, and I found the sight very arousing. Thank you very much, James Madison.
Goody Smitherton, you say?
That's right.
She's got those butter-churning arms.
Oh, yeah.
Signing the Constitution will resume after a 5 to 7 minute bathroom break, provided Goody Smitherton is not cited again before that.
I'm out of here!
And hey, nobody use that quill pen after Delegate Spate has signed with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why that can't just trust what you read in the history books. There's always just so much that gets left out, especially when you're talking about stuff that happened 250 years ago.
Sure. Well, I mean, obviously send me the URL to that very active community.
Oh, yeah.
I want to do my own digging through that, of course.
Definitely. You got to fill that meter up yourself.
It's right up to my neck, baby.
But it's all not fun and games for Brenda, even though she's, has been 60 guys at this point in time. It says
they call it a bustling swingers lifestyle. So...
That's not a phrase you use unless it's a phrase you've used in your private life, I'm guessing. You know what I mean? Like, you would be shocked if Oprah wrote a book that described that sort of thing. But Charles Kim seems comfortable tossing it off.
Yes.
But it says that nonetheless, no matter how secretive or reserved it behaved, a rumor about her sexual daring finally began to spread. You don't say. The Miss Universe contestant who's approaching dozens and dozens of guys every single week to go back to her home for dinner. Rumors start spreading about this person?
Well, I mean, at this point, she has just had incredible just thrashing about the room, breaking lamps everywhere with pretty much everyone on campus.
Yeah.
If the numbers work out the way that I think they would.
Yeah, and not like Brown is a big state school with tens of thousands of people. It's fairly elitist and selective. So you probably know a lot of people on there pretty early on.
Yeah.
But it says speculation ran rampant, feeding the proliferation of such words through campus. Goddess of sex symbol, tantalizing seductress, super multi-orgasm, and never-ending black hole. All those words undulated from mouth to mouth with half envy and half satire. So that's just a normal guy writing about how other people talk about other people.
My God.
Whatever direction their credulous intentions flashed on, Brenda could not help feel awkward whenever she mingled with classmates. Could that be maybe because she has a schedule to bang every single one of them? Is that why she might be just feeling awkward whenever she's mingling with people? I think that would probably just sort of cast a little bit of tension over getting together to play Settlers of Catan or something.
And so after all of that, Brenda felt as if a thin veil fluttered down, separating her from classmates. I mean, right before you approached, they were saying, "Here comes the goddess. Here comes the never-ending black hole." And she feels like a thin veil separates. Yeah. I think we're beyond thin veils at this point.
Right. I think that if the school paper is running these item like Brenda to bang, 8th guy, like today at noon, like that might be a little more than a thin veil.
So because of that, yeah, she's getting more, I guess he's just trying to say she's getting more impatient and everything with life.
Yeah.
She's irritated and aggressive.
Yeah, he said that was why she couldn't do her parallel bars routine. And I think it doesn't say anything about her schoolwork suffering or anything like that. And we later learned she is, of course, the valedictorian. But I think, her personal relations, it says, her personality developed into 2 parallel lines of distinct tendency. Highly gregarious socialization of her outer life. I guess, she's pretty gregarious. Mm-hmm. And deeply hidden isolation of her inner life. So those are the duality of Brenda there. I feel like I've known her all my life.
But in case you missed it, Brenda's idiosyncrasy, see the title of this, had come into existence as a spellbinding vista by her towering intelligence, by her phenomenal sexuality, and by her, get the thesaurus out here, and by her nympholeptic beauty.
Yeah. That's a frenzy supposed by ancient peoples to have been induced by nymphs. So are nymphs like female satyrs? I guess there could be some.
Yes.
He's drawing from the classics here. He's that's what Charles Kim is doing. He's a scholar of Greek myth, and it's permeating every facet of this book.
Yeah. So this, I don't think we can overstate this description of her. Goes on and on and on, and it just alternates between her just like bringing dudes home and just wrecking the place. Mm-hmm. With then going back to describe how she's a little frustrated because, remember, she's incredibly intelligent, incredibly beautiful, and it's just like repeated over and over and over again.
Yeah, and that sort of in that dryly clinical yet gross terminology we've hopefully given people a taste of, because it's like you said, you could read every sentence of this book to people and it would probably make you laugh, but you've got to filter things out because this is only 25 pages into the book.
Right. And so we crash this particular episode into a poll with the end of this article. Sorry, I almost said chapter. Brenda would meet her matching partners at her senior days in the following article. That event would signal the actual beginning of the super constitution written by 3 geniuses.
Oh, yeah, that thing.
So we could have started in Article 3, and that would have been fine.
It would be weird, though, if she did meet the other 2 people she's going to write the Super Constitution with, and it was just casually tossed off that she was banging, 60 guys a month. That would just sort of you really need to do the James Michener going back to the creation of in terms of her sexual awakening here.
Yeah, she's like, no, keep writing Article 4, and I'm just going to be in the other room. I can hear you. It's fine.
Yeah, because it says, right before that, it says, in the meantime, all of a sudden, she saw she was heading into her senior year. So she just sort of wakes up, from a, all-night session of dude banging, and then it's like, well, where did the past 3 years go? My God, I've got to get that thesis written.
How are my grades, by the way?
I mean, you got to imagine that. I mean, maybe not. Maybe professors were never considered as potential partners or dates, as he keeps calling them. Maybe she knew they wouldn't be able to cut it if they were not the virile, young college students.
Well, I'm sure she probably gave it a go,
sure,
right?
You gotta, yeah, exactly. You can't write it off.
Yeah. Sometimes these guys might surprise me.
Well, Article 3 is titled Freshman's Icon, and it has, as good as the end of that last article was, this one starts amazing. By the time Brenda was promoted to the senior class, her reputation on her scholastic performance, her personal popularity, and her bizarre sex power had long provoked a zest with every gossip around the campus. So even if you had just told me that if Super Constitution was going to somehow contain the phrase bizarre sex power, I would have said, yes, A+, let's read it right now. The fact that it comes off here and it's sort of just an afterthought in the midst of all these things we're reading about octopuses and stuff, it's incredible that it barely even registers.
I love that such talk permeated into every student's conversation. So they're just constantly talking about her bizarre sex power.
Right. And do we know when this is? Is it around 20, like it's before 2016? So people are like being like, who do you think's going to win that 2012 presidential election? Please. We're talking about Brenda, as we do every day here.
But I wonder, so if you're one of the guys who hadn't yet been tapped,
oh man,
would it be like 3 years into World War I, where they would just like shame guys who were still walking on the street like an able person? They actually had leagues of people would come up and pin them with a flower or something to go like, you coward, go get killed in World War I, you wreck of a human being. And so people wouldn't even show their face. You would have to be like that, right, at this point?
Yeah.
Like, how did she not pick me yet? Like, come on, man.
If you're not like walking around campus bow-legged and sort of limping, people are like, you're the reason Brenda's not satisfied. Get in there. Or it's like when Homer Simpson never won the Employee of the Month, and he was like, everyone's finally got it, and then they gave it to a inanimate carbon rod instead of him. He's like, what does it take? Brenda probably could have made some use out of that rod. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh boy.
So could that have a delegate from North Carolina? All right. Her popularity on campus has not just provoked gossip and big newspaper headlines. She dynamically influenced Brown University's pep talk on its chit-chatty behavior with significant effect to the incoming freshman class. So they are selling incoming freshmen on Brown because Brenda goes there. Which, honestly, if that was part of the brochures they start mailing you when you take your SATs, it would be like, well, obviously I'm applying there. There's this is part of the introduction to Brown week at school. Like we had a comedy hypnotist at UVA the first weekend of being on campus. And this, I think, probably would have gone over a bit better in recruiting students to go there.
Yeah, and you get to your dorm and there's that, package of goodies like, wow, free stuff for going here. Yeah. Oh, and an invitation by someone named Brenda. Okay.
Yeah. She's telling me to pick a 5-minute slot out of for the next 7 hours. Like, wow, she's but it does talk about the two incoming freshmen that I presumably are going to be important for the rest of this book. And they are John Smith and James Lee. And this, the John Smith introduction is absolutely hilarious because you're like, John Smith, wow, that's maybe Charles Kim just picked a pretty generic name. It says he had the typical phenotype of Caucasian male, tracing his WASP roots back to the first Smith's arrival with the founding Pilgrim settlers in Massachusetts some 400 years ago. So it's not John Smith because it's just an incredibly common American name. It's John Smith because he's related to the John Smith from the Jamestown colony.
I immediately thought the same thing. Like, oh, I think that Stephen King did that once. He named a character John Smith or gave him just the plain, because that was the point. Is like, now this just typical guy is going to experience something mind blowing. Like, oh, it's So I assumed he was doing that. Nope, the very next sentence. Direct relation to John Smith. Okay.
And he was born in 1992. So if the events of pre-2016 are the past, if he's entering college, you would assume this is around 2010, I guess. So just to keep things in mind, I guess.
Right. Okay.
And then his he's an incredible guy himself. His grasp of language was incomprehensible by his peers, wholly unexpected by his teachers. His mental acumen approached high teenager at the tender age of 5. Very funny to call it tender. The young woman teacher, speechless after their first conversation, was even more stunned when she discovered that 5-year-old John could do push-ups 100 times straight without feeling an exhaustion. So, first day of kindergarten, he blows her mind by being like, hello, my good lady. Like, what verbosity will you be teaching us in phonetics today? And then she's like, what? And before she can even react, he's dropping and giving her 100 as, other kids are eating paste and playing in the block corner.
She's like, John, please go sit back down on your mat, please.
That's right. He's doing one-arm push-ups like Jack Palance at the Oscars.
Take your sidewalk chalk and return to the mat, please.
There's another kid in class. I ate my sidewalk chalk. Can I borrow John's when he's doing push-ups?
So also at 5, he began a practice of karate, entering an infant school. Is that a term? Because that comes up a couple times.
Oh, yes.
Infant school.
Infant school for karate is it's like Ann Getty's babies who are also wearing Karate Kid outfits. I mean, maybe that's what he meant. He knew there was a movie called Karate Kid that was popular, and it's just something got lost in translation.
He mastered all the sophisticated forms of karate and body motions of attacking and defending. In Korea, Taekwondo. In Japan, Karate.
Uh-huh.
He also did develop an enormous crushing power to break a brick, roof tiles, and thick wooden panels with his open hand, bare front or back fist, front kick, swing kick, side kick, and back kick in a terrible speed and a sharp accuracy.
Oh, I said hook it to my veins. It's so good. It's like Napoleon Dynamite, right? Like, wasn't he into karate?
That's right, yeah. Guys gotta have skills. Girls like skills.
And I'm just not familiar with roofing tiles being a something that you demonstrate your ability in breaking. Bricks and wood 2x4s, I feel like, are traditionally what I associate.
Okay, and now let me hit you with this. So a 5-year-old is doing that, right? Whenever he demonstrated his weirdly powerful and accurate performance in public, he looked like a super acrobatic stuntman. Now, I would be, this would weird me the hell out, right?
Sure.
But no, it gave onlookers a pleasant surprise.
Where is this happening? Like in, down by like the waterfront or like, a town square where you've got like, buskers and guys doing acrobatics displays where you just might wander through on your way to dinner. You look over and you see a 5-year-old doing karate.
Breaking thick wooden panels with his open
kicking
hand.
Roof tiles. Yeah. He sounded like he would kill on Star Search. He could even dethrone Hot Property, probably. Yes. A 5-year-old coming out and doing swing kicks.
Coming up next, going to do weirdly powerful and accurate performance with sidekicks and sharp accuracy. John Smith.
Right. The interview with that. Now, John, is that just a coincidence that you being named John Smith? It's not.
You might have thought that. Yes, I can see where you would have gotten that, but no.
Hey, give it up for John Smith, descendant of John Smith and Pocahontas, everybody. 3 stars from our judges. But yeah, he makes a stir everywhere he went. Oh yeah, that's the thing. And this is a very funny thing. You said that he mastered, what was it? In Korea, Taekwondo, in Japan, karate.
Yes.
And it says an unusual event happened when John promoted himself to senior class of his high school. I don't know, if you were just allowed to do that. I never knew you could just
if you're John
yourself.
Smith, you're damn right you are. I don't want to get kicked in half.
He goes into the office of the principal. He's like, hey, I'd like to promote myself to senior class. The principal's like, well, John, we don't traditionally do that. And John just like noticeably looks over to the big stack of roofing tiles the principal has on his desk. And the principal's like, request approved. Leave him alone, John. But then once he achieved senior year of high school, it says his reputation on the Taekwondo (parentheses karate) had stored as a stark monolith around his hometown, Houston, Texas. I don't think they're the same thing, but it doesn't really matter. But then he doesn't want to do judo because it's not dangerous enough. It says, what's more, judo started from holding or contact, and karate (parentheses taekwondo) aimed at finishing by a blowing contact on a vital point at the human body, which and I guess is probably something he has in common with Brenda. So yeah, that was just a very funny tick of his to call the things the same thing in parentheses, and I wished he continued doing it throughout.
Yes. This sets up. You thought last article was bizarre in the way that it went.
I certainly did. You could. That's an understatement. Yes.
If we had done the, write down what you think is going to happen in Article 3 on a small slip of paper, fold it in half, and shove it across the desk to me, and then I told you that this was going to turn into was John Smith, the Taekwondo (parentheses karate) parentheses Taekwondo champion, was going to fight 100 judoists. 100 anxious judoists versus stunting crackerjack John. A phrase I think you could search all of literature. I don't think you would find stunting crackerjack anywhere.
No, yeah. I think there's many things here that would return. You have one result for this Google search, and it is Super Constitution.
So the stunting crackerjack is going to take on 100 people. I can't quite get this is just the head of the judo society, right? Is like, screw you, judo's better than your karate/taekwondo, and we're going to prove it. And then, like, I'll give you 10 guys. It's like, no, I want more than that. All right, I'll give you 100.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Well, John politely mentioned he could knock out even 100 judoists if they sparred one-on-one, and so they essentially set that up. It's like someone saying, like, I could outrun a horse type of thing, and so they set up this big event for someone to prove this crazy thing. And it says all the concerned people figured John might last 20 or 30 judoists, even though John had excellent martial art. And so it's very, they're sort of just lining up these guys, and they're going to have at them. So it does parallel Brenda fairly nicely.
It does. But then the rules are set, and the audience comes in, reporters and cameramen, local media,
probably the Brown University paper, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so it's all set, and then the two umpires talk, and they have a casual chat. And I thought maybe we could just, if you have it in front of you, can we just recreate it?
Sure.
I'll play the first guy who we get his name. I can't remember. Here we go.
This is a casual chat.
This is casual chat. Everyone's already in the auditorium, so it's kind of loud, but casual to the two. Hey, Rick, what do you think about the Taekwondo champ, John Smith?
Well, I think the karate chop brags his reckless courage. I heard he was distinguished as a genius in the class. I guess he does not understand human body's biological limit.
Yeah, but Rick, time to time we hear about some unusual saga such as Samson and Delilah.
Are you kidding? Those things only inflate an unrealistic legend as a real story to draw out some attention.
But Rick, you never know. I feel some hunch in this guy, John. So that was
the umpires. They're like,
that was the casual chat between two umpires.
You do. You not as often as you discuss a moron with an IQ sub 80, but from time to time you do hear about an unusual saga such as Samson and Delilah.
From time to time.
Oh, so good. Yeah,
wow.
I should have gone more casual. I should have put it in the voice of, Rick, from time to time we hear about some unusual saga such as Samson. It'd be a bit more casual if they sounded like a bad impression of Matthew McConaughey, maybe.
Yeah, or if I felt like you would just come from assing around somewhere. Sure. You can't get more casual than that, I think.
I mean, these are probably the best umpires you have for the best judo umpires, because if it's 100 guys, this is like, you really have to be focused. This is like a Wimbledon line judge, I'm thinking.
100 guys. Speaking of the room, it reminds me of, isn't that Mark's thing? And he's telling the story.
Yep.
I used to know a girl. She had about a dozen guys.
Yeah. One of them found out and beat her up so bad she ended up in a hospital on Guerrero Street.
Oh, Mark, what a story. And that woman was Brenda Chen.
Yes. But it says that there are 2 ambulances parked outside and a dozen local policemen secured the place. So it really does sound like a someone's story at summer camp of my cousin he fought 100 judo guys and he beat them up so bad they needed 2 ambulances and a dozen policemen.
Oh, right. So what happened to the first 10 come out and he fights them? What happened? That's what we're going to get, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. It is. He talk about for whatever reason, the groups of 10 judoists that come out and approach John Smith one by one for him to fight. But they're all the 10 judoists sort of like come as groups. So it's very kung fu movie or video gamey where like the first 10 judoists use this strategy, the second 10 use this strategy. But yes. we got it for the second time in the book. It starts listing them, but it skips to 10. It says the 4th man, the 10th, the 5th man, and finally the 10th man of the front line also knelt down before the front kick John exercised dexterously. He loves skipping to 10.
This gave a little bit of a hint of Antigua in it.
Yeah,
with just suddenly listing, just like units, knights.
Panthers, Komodo dragons,
right? Who never who never come up again. But for some reason, at this moment we're gonna drill down about, as you say, numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 10.
Uh-huh.
And with these men, he kicks them in a sensitive part below the judoist's navel. And the second man was hit just above his navel. The third man hit by right on navel.
Wow, the sensitive part just below the navel. I mean, he described female genitals using the most explicit terms possible and octopus suckers, and then he gets shy when it comes to decide getting kicked in the nuts.
Yes, now he's blushing just a bit and covering his mouth and tittering. I think you know what I'm talking about.
So he dispatched the first 10 guys using only front kick.
Okay.
And then he knocks them all out. They get back their consciousness in 5 to 10 seconds, staggering to their feet. The second 10-man group, he uses side kick with less power because bone is involved. Not the first time it's been involved in this book. But.
Not indeed.
But he very quickly dispatches them as well, and it says essentially he just doesn't even break a sweat. Like, this is not difficult. He's just able to dispatching the 20th guy was as easy as the first.
I wish this had happened when he was 5, but I'll let it pass. That
Sure.
He's just out of high school. Is that what it is?
He's a senior, I think, still.
He's a senior, okay.
The audience began to wonder a miraculous thing could happen. Knockout of all the 100 judoists.
I don't know about you, but I see the giant paragraph that says the 4th 10-man group, and I'm like, all right, yes. Are we really doing this?
Yeah, the 4th 10-man group is where they implement a strategy shift because they realize they faced a monster, not a lone vanguard.
I thought he was a crackerjack?
Yes. What was it? Damn it.
Stunting crackerjack.
Yes, right. Yeah, they have their John Kreese back there being like, "Damn it, that's not a stunting crackerjack. It's not a lone vanguard. It's a monster." Like it's Mickey from Mickey. It's a wrecking machine, Rock.
Yeah, he's a piece of iron. He's not a man.
But again, we start to see the parallels here. Much like Brenda, John easily whacked all of the 4th group into a clear defeat. So
we've had a lot of people easily whacking around.
Yes. We get the 5th group shows up. He uses karate chop of his open palm, and the 5th group also experienced a humiliating beatdown. And I just enjoyed the fact that Grandpa Kim knew the term beatdown because that just amused me. The 6th group, it used what we always hope happens in a kung fu movie, where they decide not to go one by one. They all just rush around, because guys always let Bruce Lee just kick the crap out of them one by one instead of like approaching him from behind. But they'd stand respectfully and do the kind of bouncing on one foot, back and forth as he beat the crap out of. Yes, we all know that. Yes. But the 2nd group uses the kamikaze move, and then there's nothing else to say. He dispatches all of them easily. And then he finally, the 7th group falls and they're back. to fight them, and he ends up breaking 2 of their bones, and the ambulance has to take them away. And then he finally gets to the point where he yada yadas everything. He says, the 8th, 9th, and 10th group lined up briskly and fell down without any magnitude. John's stature beamed to a glow. He looked ready to tackle another 100.
But you yada yada past the fact that the umpires temporarily stopped the bout. They were like, look, he's obviously going to break everyone's leg. So the umpires made a rule that the time of lying down on the floor more than 5 seconds should be considered as a knocked out time.
Got it.
Which I appreciated, because I'm like, well, I guess he could break, 10 bones, and that would be, and then he could yada yada past it. But it was nice that he stopped all the action and had a rule change.
Yeah, the umpires got not casual pretty quick, I'm guessing, once this started.
Yeah, I wonder if Samson and Delilah was brought up again. Like, damn it, Rick, every time. Can we just make a new rule?
And then he says the other thing is that he, in addition to his, he had made major obsessions on scholastic fronts with the electronic paradigm and audiovisual techniques. So he's your AV nerd in the front row, like you mentioned. But it said, in addition to his absorption with electronics, his other major concern dwelled extensively on the weird story of Brenda Chen. And it's like, yeah, I bet he did dwell extensively on that. It talks about her, in real life, he was so much curious about the characterful sphinx of unknown depths of Brenda Chen. Ever since hearing of Brenda's arresting beauty, nymphomania, and genius, his desire to meet her had gone from curiosity to fanatical desperation. Yeah, I wonder if he focused on any of those 1-3 things more than the others. The arresting beauty, the genius.
The genius, I'm sure.
Or maybe the nymphomania.
To fanatical desperation. That's always a good way to meet someone you've been looking forward to meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's you.
Yeah, that's how, they have Elizabeth Olsen probably encounters that at the Comic-Con autograph line, I'm guessing. A little fanatical desperation to...
And so then we slam right into James Lee.
Yep, it goes from that paragraph directly into the next guy, James Lee, who sort of gets the short shrift in this description, because you really got a lot of karate talk, parentheses, taekwondo. You get a really lot of boning talk, but James is, I don't know, he's sort of the rest of the crew, I feel like.
Yeah, his superpower is essentially he has kind of amusing conversations about dark matter with other guys.
Yes. Well, and he can hold his breath underwater for a very long time.
That's true. I forgot about that. He is a sea lion.
He's nicknamed the Sea Lion by his fellow high school students.
He remarkably enjoyed physics. He became an oddball because he often talked about black hole, dark matter, supernova, and superconductivity, which his peers would not understand.
He talks about them as often you think about as people talk about Samson and Delilah. Are we really sure?
Well, settle down, please.
Yeah, sorry.
Come on.
It described him. I think they live in New York as well, but it says when they learned he was a genius, James' father was so glad to hear from the teacher that his son James was an outstanding genius.
Yes.
I really made him glad to hear that he was an outstanding genius. He was, he was happy about that. Like when you hear that your team wins the game, that makes you glad too.
Yes. So a lot of talk about his dark matter and all these things. And then a new set of characters comes around. And this is my favorite. This is like when this is like the quilting verse or something.
Okay.
So happy. My favorite character is Gordon Kennedy. And what's the other guy's name?
Simon Cooper.
Simon Cooper and Gordon Kennedy. Mm-hmm. And they just have a... this is one of those conversations, you remember the casual conversation between two umpires.
Yes.
This is how this one starts casually. James! ! So do the black holes really exist? And what the hell is the supernova?
Not whom the hell.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he replies, so that's Gordon Kennedy who said that.
Yeah.
Well, the black holes exist. They are the arc densest stars in the universe of which gravity goes beyond our imagination. Even the light reflected from that star cannot escape from the star's gravity. Therefore, we cannot see it. The black hole absorbs anything near to the star by its gigantic gravity. Because of its ever-increasing density, the gravity grows immensely. And so the reaction of his friends? James's disposition made him excited. His friends, including Gordon, also got excited. Including Gordon, you say? Oh, phew, that's a good thing to mention there.
So this is exactly how the conversation continues then. So they're excited, and then Gordon continues, James! Exclamation point. Then the black hole could absorb the whole universe, couldn't it? No, never. Damn it. I thought I was on this. I was all excited for nothing.
Yeah, that's going to be the sort of thing that like Gordon's friend group like is making fun of in the group text chat. Like they changed the name of it to "Could the black hole absorb the whole universe?" Like just to make fun of him.
Yeah. But finally Simon Cooper comes in, my second favorite character, and throws a little cold water. James, you used to say our universe is unlimited by its own limit. We cannot understand its real meaning of the unlimited skies of its own limit.
Simon,
isn't that so Simon Cooper?
You okay, Simon? Did you get kicked in the head by a Taekwondo (karate) guy?
Unlimited universe. Simon's get a wallet under his
drifting
tongue.
into a fugue state. But he's Simon and James Simon and Gordon both call him James despite the fact that it said because he can hold his breath for 20 minutes his friends dubbed him Sea Lion. But no one's calling him Sea Lion, they're all calling him James.
Yeah. That's like I'm Mad Dog, man.
Oh, of course, exactly. Everyone calls me that. But so we read some of those descriptions. There's a lot more examples of discussions of dark matter, of wavelengths, the speed of light, black holes, and it's really eye-glossing territory because it's sort of like you read his description of women's genitalia involving octopus suckers. I'm going to assume all the talk about black holes and dark matter is this same level of expertise. You know what I mean? Like it's impossible to read because it's all science terms, but I assume it's also wildly inaccurate and it doesn't really matter if we understand it, you know?
Yeah, skipped it like it was a song in Tolkien for the most part. We tried to scan it, but yeah.
I think it's all just your generic sci-fi understanding of, black holes, they suck things into them. Dark matter, it's heavy, speed of light, etc. As long as you understand what Star Trek wanted to inform you of, you'll be fine, I think, reading this book.
Yeah, and it mostly comes down to, is there a limit beyond, the speed of light, etc., which Simon is trying to really, twist his, really, get under his skin with, and then he finishes, therefore, by syllogism, our universe has its own limit. James murmurously spewed his disgusting contradiction and dubiousness.
Oh, shit. Way to shut him down. Oh. I mean, you'll never recover from that if you're Simon.
Now, our eyes are glossing over, but no matter how dubious or contradictory, James used to be fond of talking those silly talks with his buddies. Simon was always fond of that, too. So they're having a ball.
Yeah, that was a silly thing. And Simon continues a silly but interesting question, which is, you say our solar system locates in the peripheral corner of our Milky Way galaxy, of which diameter fathoms around 60,000 light years and distances around us, a couple million light years with its neighboring galaxies. So there are a couple million galaxies distancing silly. It's just a silly.
You silly Willy. What are you saying?
Yeah, the other kids in the fifth grade kindergarten class are being like, I'm going to invent a horse made out of poo-poo. And they're like, he's silly. While John Smith is doing 100 push-ups in the corner. Nice round numbers, too, I realized. 100 push-ups, 100 judoists. It's very James Willian.
Yeah. And James is smiling and contentedly answers, and this is just all garbage, so don't worry about it. Yes, of course our universe moves around, kills some stars or galaxies, and creates them according to not a few laws, but not too many laws either. Maybe not more than 5 or 6 laws. what is wrong with these guys? Are like, these silly things are happening.
Yeah, 5 or 6 laws that would expand upon them, please.
But it goes on. This goes on and on.
Yeah,
their talk of like electromagnetic waves and whatnot.
Yeah, and it sort of reveals itself in that the reason I am mostly interested in dark matter and superconductivity is that I think I can develop an unusual super means in transportation. So that's sort of like why James is talking about this. And yeah, I guess I said they got the short shrift but he really ends up talking about this dark matter and black holes as much as it talked about Brenda banging or Joe doing karate.
Yeah, to be fair, it was the same. Yeah, he got a big helping of this as we did about Brenda's sex life. Yeah. So.
But he's having a sort of a similar effect as Brenda had on the students at Brown. It says, after this conversation, Gordon and Simon became absent-minded. They felt they were intoxicated smoothly. They felt themselves getting high. Their conversation with James always induced their mind into a euphoric state. So those guys are just in the hallway talking about dark matter, and then they show up in civics class, and they're just like, whoa, I got to stop talking to James in between class, man. This is just wrecking me.
I did note they felt that they were intoxicated smoothly. It didn't have a parentheses, but should have, that said, much like the normal vaginal wall of it. Smooth like that. Except for a few cases.
Right, yes. Ooh. Spicy.
All right.
But then this chapter ends. They're both enrolling in Brown because obviously why else would you go anywhere else in college? You got to strike while the iron's hot while Brenda's still there. She could be transferring to grad school any day now. But it says the chapter ends with a significant moment in the lives of both John Smith and James Lee will come when they meet each other for the first time as a freshman at Brown University.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, and that ends Article 3. And we have Article 4, Reluctant Valedictorian, coming up. But I think before that, we should do our first Super Constitution real or fanfic.
And now I bet they bitching cause my flow switching, trying to tell me what to write about some fan fiction. Can't they just be happy? I no longer have
Okay, real or fanfic. And to quote the great Charles Kim, how can it happen? Here the story goes.
Is that from the cover?
I'm just reading the cover, yes.
It really has been quite a story, but these are going to be passages that either come from later in a Super Constitution, written by Charles Kim, or are fanfic written by our beloved Patreon supporters, our beloved jackals, patreon.com/372pages. They've heard our live show from Minneapolis that we did. Was that just last week? Man.
Yeah, that was just last week.
It's a lot of fun. Thanks to everyone who came out to see that. It was a great opportunity to meet people and see people like waving around copies of Super Constitution in the crowd, and people wearing shirts with the inflatable cow on it and signing things. There were some custom shirts people made, a Quilting Guild shirt that was amazing, but just deeply weird to see it out in the real world, I think.
My wife Bridget was out in there's a performance area and a bar area outside, and she heard someone saying, what is that show in there? Which I'm like, oh man, what is? And the other person who was like a server or something said, I don't know, it's like a Mystery Science Theater book club. Well, I guess that kind of.
And it's fairly like a funky like venue in terms of like the people who work there and stuff like that. So to have a meeting of a book club inside the theater, they must have been like, what are we doing? Like.
I wish the description had been completely accurate, and then the person would have just turned and said, "I'm sorry, I asked you.
Yes, right.
Goodbye."
Yes, exactly. Or the verbal verbal JO gesture of the waitress probably doing that. But yeah, it was great. And so if you want to check that out, it's on patreon.com/372pages. I still got to post our video of the Gump I keep calling it Gump Company, Bubblegum Shrimp Company that we did while we were there too. That'll be coming someday. Sure. But yeah, here's number one. These could be all real. They could be all fanfic. They could be a combination of the two. Number one. When a person dies, she or he no longer exists. She will not even know that she was once born. She will not recognize anything in the universe. She cannot function anything for the life or living thing. She will not remember any detestation, any favorite, any enemy, or any friend. Nothing exists to a dead man. So killing power means nothing to a dead person. However, killing power means something to the alive, to the bereaved, and to the moving human world. In this juncture, the killing power matters. The killing power exhibits supreme power over the human mind's determination. The killing power is the number one source to make a final decision on human affairs. No one can exchange anything for the dead if the death does not mean anything else.
I hope that was a speech by Miss O'Hara, but who knows? That was very good. I'm going to say fanfic.
Okay. Miss O'Hara, we've got some strong Blériana potential, I'm just saying.
Yes.
Page 1, Blériana. Number 2. Brenda asked a friend standing nearby to take a picture and asked James's father and her advisor to take a pose along with her. Mr. Lee, I am so glad for you to come here today. I badly wanted you to meet Mr. Krugman. Brenda, please call me Mike. Brenda approached towards Mr. Lee's ear and whispered, "May I call you Daddy, as James calls you?" Of course, it is my pleasure. That sounds even more palatable. The small crowd wondered what conversation was going around between James's father and Brenda. In this way, Brenda's memorable ceremony of graduation started.
Oh, boy. Well, I'm going to say someone's trying to hook me in with the daddy stuff there. But I'm going to say fanfic.
A little something for daddy?
Yes.
Fanfic. All right. Number 3. As matters progressed in the timely and most efficient and globalizing influence, former President John Garfield of the United States became vice president in charge of affairs in the new United States County Division Metropolis, known to the one world government under the Super Constitution. The United States having a population of over 300 million people, the Super Constitution determined that the United States was to be dissolved and disinterred into 6 nations, parentheses, back cover of book. John Garfield's proviso and nation was known under the one government plan as the metropolis. Metropolis is defined in Greek as the mother state and was sought out to be the largest of the 6 countries made from the ash heap of the pieces of the United States, but with the fewest but yet most largest of the counties. The brilliant and elegant strategy resulted in a population count of 79,900,526 inhabitants, elegantly approaching the cap of 80 million determined.
Come on. I don't know. I'll say real.
Real. All right. All right. All right. Number 4. I'm famished. What's good here? Brenda asked. The curd pulled cod is the best in the city, John answered. That sounds very palatable. Please order one for me. John caught the kid's attention and ordered 2. The kid poured curd pulled cod into 2 cups and placed them on the counter. That will be $10. John put cash on the counter and picked up the cups, handing one to Brenda without a pause. Cheers, John said. Delicious, exclaimed Brenda.
What? Curd pulled cod? I mean, come on. Somebody's... That is so weird. All right. I guess I have to say real.
Oh, boy. And here's number 5. I think I've heard of quantum suicide. How is quantum immortality any different? John shot back. Well, it's on the same tangent. Quantum suicide is a thought experiment while you have a Schrodinger's cat experiment set up. The difference is that the scientist is the cat, and it's posited that after 2 tries, the researcher will always be dead. John nodded in agreement. James continued. Quantum immortality is when you apply the many worlds theory to it, because there will always be a world where you die and a world where you live. One iteration of the scientist will always survive, meaning that iteration is a quantumly immortal. Huh, said John. Why did you bring that up? James shrugged. No reason, really.
Simon came in from the side, just delighted. Can I get in on this? I don't know. I'll say fanfic.
Okay. All right. And let's go back to the beginning. This might be one of your worst performances.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. So let's go back to number 1. Number 1 was when a person dies, killing power. A lot of talk about killing power. You said fanfic. That was real from later in the book submitted by Ross. So we've got some killing power to look forward to. Number 2 was Brenda asking if she can call James's father Daddy. You said fanfic. That's real from later in the book.
Oh, come on.
That was submitted by Craig. I have no idea if that's Don DeMillo Daddy or just a mistranslation. But
sure,
we've got that to look forward to. Number 3, This was the breakdown of former President John Garfield, new United States County Division Metropolis. You said real. That was fanfic written by Jankmel. He went on to list a bunch of counties, which I don't know if that would have helped or made it even more confusing. So that's 0 for 3, I think, so far. Number 4, that was curd pulled cod. You said real. That was fanfic written by Craig.
What? Where did you come up with that? What the hell is that?
He sent it in because it says it's a notorious tongue twister. I don't know. The curd pulled cod is there's like a whole tongue twister involving it. But it sounded, I read it and I was like, I have no idea because that's so weird, like you said. But yeah, he was.
So I'm 0 for 5.
0 for 4. And then the final one was Quantum Suicide, Quantum Immortality. You said fanfic. That was fanfic by Daniel.
Oh,
so
okay.
1 for 5.
Jeez.
Maybe the trickiest book so far. Who knows? Most people sent in fanfic that was like horny stuff focusing on the Troika, which we're going to get to. But I thought that was just going to be so overt and obvious that we had to use the more devious ones.
Yeah, I'm never going to forgive curd pulled cod.
maybe as a. I think they also sent it in. They knew about your love of the weird tinned fish, so I think that was also the.
Yeah, that could be working under the surface too, for sure.
All right. Well, thanks for sending it in, everybody. Please continue to send in the fanfic. I know some people have been unable to read the book, but it'd be fun if someone who hasn't even been reading along would send in a fanfic just to see if they could imitate it by virtue of just listening here.
Oh, you could have your computer write it. It's just like anything goes.
Yeah, there's a way to feed stuff into AI. I wonder what AI would do with this one. I'd be very interested.
Yeah.
Let's do Article 4 so we can wrap this thing up. It's called Reluctant Valedictorian.
Okay.
I think this has been used before, but she heard about the 2 oddball freshmen that had joined Brown University. Was someone else called an oddball, or was that just a crackerjack at this point?
I believe James became an oddball.
Okay.
Because he liked to talk about dark matter and swim underwater for 20 minutes, was it?
He could hold his breath for 20 minutes.
Okay.
Thus earning him the nickname Sea Lion. And I think like guys like David Blaine, you just like learn to do that. There's probably some record that could be possible. I'm guessing
those free divers.
Yeah. I
don't think it's 20 minutes. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I don't know.
But it is funny that they essentially all had superpowers, and one was just like the karate god. The other one was the genius horniness, and then he's like, I can hold my breath for a while. It's like the X-Men that's going to be like, just why don't you hang back and we'll fight Magneto as a guy who can hold his breath.
But campus chit-chat spills all over the place about the new faces of the geniuses. Mm-hmm. So as an incoming freshman, they already got the buzz going.
Yes.
Unlike Brenda, though, I don't think they got the 64-point type, James and John to visit campus kind of thing. But,
that shows you what it's really all about.
Right.
But they met. And there is they put out they all met, Brenda, James, and John. They got to know each other, and then the capless paper put out a tabloid article about them joining Brown, including their far outstanding physical and mental talent. The story vibrated everyone.
Oh, okay.
But mostly Brenda, I'm guessing.
Yes. Okay.
If there's vibrating happening on campus, I'm guessing people are going to identify where it's coming from. But they meet, and we get some dialogue. Are you John Smith? Yes, I am. You must be Brenda Chen. Yes, I am. I am very glad to meet you, John. I am too. I've been looking forward to seeing you. I have been hearing about you thunderously these days. Boom!
He does the double point down to his crotch, of course. Thunderously.
But this is such a big meeting. This is like a meeting of the 2 biggest campus celebrities. Everyone is gathered around them. All the students beamed. Everyone shook hands. Now, naturally, everyone encircled around the 2 famous future authorities in the academics. And you have to imagine someone just tried to get a bang, bang, bang chant going. Because we all know it's coming.
Yes.
But Brenda's first instinct is she suddenly felt sentimental, as though she were having a reunion with a long-separated kid brother, which is like the absolutely worst thing to happen here to John. You finally meet the horniest, most beautiful woman in the universe. And she immediately is like, you're just like a brother to me.
Oh, yeah, that has to really just like...
I got to go break some ceiling tiles. Get out some of this frustration. But that is a red herring because she very quickly says, I'd like to invite you for dinner at my apartment.
Yes. And Brenda's invitation word rang John's eardrum fantastically. His words literally thundered through John's brain.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it goes on to describe her. The magnetic attraction of Brenda's charming figure alone could intoxicate any man. On top of the outstanding physical beauty, here we go, her reputation as a super genius, as well as a far surpassing sexual pleasure monger, swept away anything in her way. So that was the one right before we started to record. I went out and read the description of her as a far surpassing sexual pleasure monger to Lauren, and she said, I wrote down the quote, so this dude is just horny and he wrote a book about it, about his horniness. So there we go, a sexual pleasure monger.
I love that. So he's trying to do the thing of like, obviously these two are going to get together. Mm-hmm. The suspense is supposed to be killing us. And then he does the kind of like this, okay, now this is the pause before the storm of like a Beethoven symphony or something. You thought it was going to crescendo. I'm going to give you just a little waltz or something that throws you off.
Okay.
And this is what Charles gives us. Woman attracts man. Man does woman. The main source of attractiveness dwells on an appearance and a preconception. Both appearance and preconception play a devastating factor in rendering a charisma between man and woman. So this is, and it goes on.
Yeah.
But that's just him free-forming his, like going back to the sort of the start of the earth and like trying to describe.
Right. Yeah. That woman attracts man, man does woman is sort of what he's getting at there. But it's really, I thought it would make a great Valentine's Day card as it kept going. Even ordinary appearance alone, that vitalizes sensual stimulant between woman and man, triggers its opposite gender's libido if the appearance fits to stimulate a form of id residing in the unconscious. A certain appearance vibrates a certain id devastatingly. So, like, yeah, you vibrate my id devastatingly might be a something to put on a box of chocolates or something like that for Valentine's Day.
I have one here. It's probably skipping ahead. We can go back, but that I think should have been my wedding vows. Brenda's thrilling appearance and her towering charisma already mesmerized John's thinking mechanism. Oh, darling. Your thrilling appearance and towering charisma mesmerize my thinking mechanism.
Who's the guy that he had his friend like whisper him the things to say to impress the woman because he was always bad with women? What's that tale?
Do you mean Cyrano?
Yeah. If Charles Kim had been the guy whispering him what to say, tell her that you're memorizing her thinking mechanism. Now say that you have a burning thirst that's melted down your vivacious spirit all the way to the biological limit, and you're unable to think of anything else more. What's that? She left.
Shout that up to a woman on a balcony? Okay.
And here we go back to it, though. It's you thought you're gonna get away, but he's got to remind you of this. Because they go back, they get busy. Brenda's silky elastic muscle electrified John's whole nervous system. What's more was Brenda's vaginal structure, which fascinated and stunned every man. And so John can't hold it together. He repeated his husky word of "I love you" without end. Get it together, man! Come on, this is. You've warded off 100 judoists. Like you hopefully weren't telling any of them "I love you" based on your mental brainwashing that's happened here.
You might have more to read, but I'm going to read this. I just have written next to it "Mother of God." So obviously you have cleared the kids from the room.
Okay.
First time. John felt his prostate had drained all the residual of his gland secrets, which used to signal extended desire for the action. John felt a complete drain of his action power. The action with Brenda totally cleaned even a drop of residue in John's tube.
Oh my God!
What in the name of hell are we reading?
It's like listening to someone describing like a duck's, genitals or something like that.
Oh God!
John's tube. But that's the complete drain of his action power. That again is your video game, combo meter type of thing. But
wow.
So that's after they've done it. It was Brenda has been exhausted for the first time in her sexual life.
Yeah.
It says that both of them had been soaked in the sweat. The sweat covered all their bodies. When they finally finished the session, they looked like just stepping out of a shower.
Oh, God.
So they're sweaty. But it really had one of these things. The far extraordinary strength of his physical condition went beyond normal recognition. He also used to enjoy sexual activities in a too far surpassing degree. So it's really the unstoppable force has met the immovable object here. She finally met her match and was finally satisfied herself. And of course they end up so sweaty with your tube clean.
So are there just, like the wall boards are just, broken in. There's like body prints in every surface as they slam each other against it. Like what is happening?
Yeah. They're emerging from it smoking, like Wile E. Coyote after a missile explodes him type of thing. Like, I have to imagine she's not in student, housing because there's, sharing walls would be impossible at this point in time. But speaking of like the video game meter, even though he managed to just absolutely rock her world here, she's first time in her sexual life, but he says, I am still empty. I wonder if I even have a desire. I think I need another day to at least fill it up to activate it. So she's ready to go again, but he begs off. He needs another day.
I couldn't have predicted where this was going either. But it just makes, again, in a very clinical way, says like she needs it every day to, just be just absolutely destroyed with sex, but he needs it every other day.
Yes.
So that's just what he was getting to. It took me a while to go like, wait, what? And then, meanwhile, they found a great new face.
Yes,
James Lee.
Yeah. Talk about a weird way to describe this. Brenda exerted an expertise at handling a date with her favorite boy. Their mind visited each other endlessly. They missed each other long enough. They greeted one another amidst hearty cheers. Their joy undulated forever. Brenda and James experienced the first date as an epical history in their life. Settle the hell down here, people.
Wow. So, but it did amuse me that it was really just like paragraph after paragraph of, sweat and empty tubes and everything. And then no break. And then they found a great new face, James Lee.
Yeah, like
great transition.
Yeah, there's always like the new faces in comedy festival type of thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, James Lee is like, I was mentioned in the article about John Smith coming to town. I know, they focused a lot on the, ultimate karate black belt, but I can't hold my breath for 20 minutes. So it's but so they form, and get used to this word.
Yeah. Yes.
They form a troika. It's sort of the, what he used because the word thruple had not been invented.
Yes.
And it's essentially just a tag team, James and John are tagging out every other day to give Brenda that good stuff that she needs. But their troika, Brenda sensed the god's hand in the balance of the troika, which is a massive settle down to this, just like you said, it's just like wall headboard shattering, wall denting sex, but Brenda's seeing the hand of God in it.
The hand of God.
Brenda quickly came to the conclusion that Brenda needed John and James, and John and James needed Brenda for maintaining the balance of the unbalanced pace of Brenda. So that's a sentence that uses the Brenda 3 times in it. Brenda's going to a third person there.
Her libido's full satiation
Nice.
Her ever-pleasant expectation on her routine days, her carefree adaptation on her everyday events, as well as her soaring passion for John and James blazed up Brenda's sense with enthusiasm.
Wow.
So super timing of the troika met its space.
Super timing. I mean, I feel like super timing. If they had shown up if they were the same age as her, or were there from her freshman year, you might have not had to do a little less dating of every other guy on campus. So not exactly super timing.
Yeah, she during that whole time was growing irritable as like the crust of her personality was shifting and all of that.
It was hard to read the word crust in this situation without it. You thinking about sex in the early. I guess it was not that, but anyway, it was not a word you wanted to encounter with all the other descriptions going on.
Right. So the troika, besides having the mind blowing sex, obviously they get together to discuss things, and this I was glad I was not sipping water for this exchange between John and Brenda. This is John to Brenda. Brenda, I'm not sure what type of electromagnetic wave you are talking about. I think I am the guy who can claim anything that happens in the matter of electromagnetic wave. What on earth is this specifically concocted wave? Do you know what it is? Did you find it accidentally or logically? Well, simmer down, John.
Yes.
John, please. Standing up, screaming, spittle flying from your lips, waving your arms around, face red. Simmer down.
Oh, I love the good simmer down. That's something I like saying to friends' dogs when they're like jumping on me.
Sure.
And it's essentially her giving them the settle down stamp. So I'm glad to see it in print itself.
It is, yes. Brenda is the purveyor of the settle down.
But they're discussing, what was it, waveforms?
Electromagnetic waves.
Is that her specialty?
Well, I think John is saying it's his specialty.
Okay, so that's his specialty, but they all have a specialty, and they're there talking because Brenda has summoned them there to discuss her valedictorian speech.
Right,
and so they get into that, which in terms of porn scene setups is a brand new one. I think that may be untapped territory.
It's true.
But she reveals that in her search for a cure for diabetes, she's invented a death ray, which is, I guess that as one does when they're researching cures for diabetes.
Right. You're trying to make a new kind of lubricant, and you make silly putty instead.
Yes, right. But she's debating. She was going to talk about this in her valedictorian speech, and then has sort of given it a second thought. And you went to your son's graduations recently. It's all pretty pat stuff, right? It's like, as we go out into the world, like the relationships we made here will last a lifetime type of stuff. Or
we walked in here with our smooth, bright faces. We weren't sure where we were going. Here we are 4 years later. Yeah. I have, learned more than I ever could have learned, right, and made more friends than I ever could have hoped.
Exactly. And Webster's defines a commencement not as an end, but as a beginning type of thing. But no, she was going to get up there and talk about a death ray.
Death ray.
And then at some point in time, she woke up at like 3 a.m. and was doing the sort of like, did I leave the stove on? But like, would that really be a good use of my bully pulpit here? But yet they rightfully say like, no, don't get up there and do the death ray talk, just like sort of the same way you'd caution a best man or maid of honor at a wedding, like, hey man, like ease up on the drinking till you get up there, like you gotta be sober for this, like don't talk about death rays, don't talk about ex-boyfriends type of thing.
Yeah, no stories about how drunk you were, and that's not going to play with grandma and grandpa and stuff like that, and certainly not the death ray stuff.
So they've got a good heads on their shoulders, which is good to hear. But it again gets into the science talk weeds here. But a few sentences that stood out to me was, he says, I'm thinking about what breed of power we can create with a combination of Brenda's killing power, James's delivering means, and my wizard communications, parentheses, means of sending messages by wave. So he's got a bit of that like P.T. Barnum razzle dazzle where it's like, yes, I've invented a means of sending messages by wave. It is called wizard communications.
Yeah, he understands marketing. You got to give him that.
Yeah, like, I've got my new lightning connector on my computer. What is that? It's an alternative to USB. It's
slightly faster.
And Brenda was worried about her speech. She said she felt something bothered her in publicizing her self-assumed theory. It could trigger a boondoggle or make a vociferous mischief maker. Which is just two situations you do not want to have happen when you're making your valedictorian speech. Boondoggles or making someone into a vociferous mischief maker.
No, that's worse than a wrestling crackerjack. Damn, I'm going to get that. I forget what his crackerjacking was.
But so they're giving her all this advice. It says, I advise you that you withdraw your role of delivering a valedictory, give it to somebody else, and let's integrate our theories into one power without hinting anything to anybody. So I'm not exactly sure why that's the advice instead of just give a trite, cliched valedictorian speech. And then James took a momentous pause and continued his point. And this is where it really starts to get going. I'm just going to read the whole paragraph because the whiplash transition is what's important. Mm-hmm. I used to vaguely think about contacting somebody for the practicality of my theory on the dark matter with some help in the area of a specific technology of electromagnetic wave. I have always thought of John, but I haven't touched on the topic with you seriously yet. Thinking of Brenda's theory on the killing power, along with John and mine, I've now come up with an idea on how the three of us can make a great contribution to the world, to the people, to the modern civilization, and to the Earth environment. In other words, we can help the world achieve a single sovereignty.
That's the other words you'd use to describe what you just said.
And so this is the seed of the super constitution being planted. And what blows my mind is this is before Miss O'Hara of the Star O'Hara, remember her, has contacted the president of China from 21 light years away.
Yeah.
So she comes and to give people I presume, unite against this force, into one world government. And then there's these three kids in the Troika are going to be like, oh yeah, we worked that out years ago. Here's what you got to do.
Yeah.
We just did this for fun, in between bang sessions. Like, it's incredible. It doesn't relate at all to the her saying, I'm going to kill one person a day until you get your shit together.
Do you think they left out the president going like, get me the red phone, and then picks it up and like, Troika, we need you. Stop banging and implement your plan.
Yeah, I guess so, because it really does seem like it's the type of crackpot thing that the Brown school paper might sort of turn on them for being like, we should unite, because this is what it sounds like. The world's wasting its energy, damaging people's freedom and welfare under a divided situation to more than 200 sovereignties. If there was only a single sovereignty, people could enjoy more prosperity, more freedom, and more civilization. I am sure the three of us can organize a certain superpower that directs the world into one sovereignty. So it's crackpot stuff, It's like the fringe guy on every local ballot. This is all his sort of thing that he's preaching about in between, get the tinfoil out of your house and 5G is causing the frogs to radiate superpowers or something.
Yeah, and it's all done in a manner of what's funny is it's all hilarious gibberish, of course, but they're doing it in the manner of like Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland, like, hey, I've got a barn. My uncle's got a barn.
Right.
My cousin stitches costumes. I'm a musician. We could put on a show. That's what they're doing, and then. James, James answered confidently, John, I see what you were talking about. Now, John, I am such a complex maniac in the astrophysics. A chart of operations for carrying out the complex strategy in order to direct the superpowers of the world is an easy manual to me. Let's put on that show.
And yeah, the beginning of the show starts with creating a chart. A hell of a complex strategic chart, he calls it. So that's incredibly important.
Yeah.
But yeah, here's one more. That just as they do this, Brenda is delighted as well. First of all, we have to materialize our hidden theories, combine them, and situate it in the place to be operated without any flaw. Then, we have to write a constitution for a sole sovereignty that will govern the world while extinguishing all other sovereignties.
Oh my God.
That's step B, Step one is, go to store, buy eggs, flour, and sugar. Step 2, write a constitution for the sole sovereignty that will govern the world while extinguishing all other sovereignties.
I love when, I don't think it's ever gone wrong when people with killing powers start talking about extinguishing sovereignties. What could possibly happen?
Yeah, because they don't really provide all of them say, yeah, I understand. That sounds like a great idea. But obviously, there's nothing to understand here. It's gibberish, as you said. But they're on board of it very quickly. And you have to imagine there's going to be countries out there that are like, we value our independence. We don't like the way other countries do things. Like, we have our own values and customs. And like, you 3 Brown students, you Ivy League coastal elites are coming in here like, we're not interested in, the Central African Republic might not be on the same page as you here.
Yeah, as they're talking very casually about this, they actually say it this way. We have to write the Constitution for sole sovereignty. Smiling pleasantly, James offered several guidelines for the composite functions in order to achieve their target. I wonder if Pol Pot would smile pleasantly as he thought, first we have to kill all the intellectuals. Yeah, right. It should be easy. Write that down.
Yeah, Pol Pot probably had a hell of a complex strategic chart.
Yes.
But they sort of just decide that they're going to do it, and agree with each other that it needs to be done and that they're going to extinguish all other sovereignties. And then it says, in this way, 3 geniuses finally came up with a way to catapult the upshot of their lone bizarre theory. So at least it acknowledges it's bizarre. Ordinary people would laugh at their theory as a ludicrous lack of intelligence. However, we will see in later chapters that their laughable theory would not only give birth to a giant and efficient single sovereignty on this earth, but also to a device for the simplest and cheapest gravity engine.
that made me laugh so hard. That's just thrown in there.
Right, yeah.
We're going to reorganize the global structure. Also, it's like the prize in the cereal box. We'll give you a gravity engine too.
Right, or a congressman sneaking in, we're doing the healthcare bill. Yeah, well, I want to sneak in $5 million for hog semen extraction. It's like, damn it, this pork's like really sunk our bill. Like, single government constitution for the entire earth. Put in something about the gravity engine too. We want it simple and cheap.
Maybe it's kind of like trying to buy condoms at the store or something. Like, I'll have some of these chips. Give me this. Oh, and I guess throw in some of those condoms in the back.
Right, and Slurpee while you're at it. Lottery ticket, too. Thank you.
Yeah. This was a great, I don't know where this comes in it, but it made me laugh. Anyhow, Brenda, John, and James vaguely figured out the outline of their long thoughts of a unique power that could move an unmovable human motivation. And they agreed to apply that power to enhance human civilization into a miraculous rise. It all began with, anyhow.
Anyhow, yeah. To make a long story short, it's incredible.
They start throwing around the word utopia, too. That always makes everyone very soothed and...
Yeah.
Oh, you guys have come up with a utopia? Well, we're very delighted to hear about it.
People countlessly thought about erecting an empire to bring a state of utopia to the world. But without an overwhelming cutting edge of certain technology along with healthy political power, the dream will never come true. It says, I don't want to underemphasize how often it calls them a troika either. It's like the ass of Forrest Gump and Company.
Yes.
It says that as, the Troika did this, the Troika did this. The Troika's mind agitated with each other's mind with their unique technology and clear vision, as they're also just boning each other on the reg.
Yes. That one, which ends the chapter, I'll read before that. And it really got me into the mind. Oh, well, you've talked me into it with your sugary words. This is what they say. Dream stays as listless dreams until somebody talks loudly about its portentous result, and a potent demagogue with clear vision agitates the people's torpid mind. I'm in. You've got me.
That's really manifesto-y there. Like, that's like, why, like as you're being led away in handcuffs, sir, why did you plant the bomb? Like, well, the people's torpid mind needs a potent demagogue with clear vision to wake them up and open their dull cow eyes.
Yes. Wow. Oh, so yeah, you say that to me and I say, Troika, do whatever you need.
Well, that concludes the chapter, Reluctant Valedictorian. So I guess...
You start talking about a valedictorian speech, you end up talking about using any means necessary to take over the world.
Potent demagogues enacting utopians on unwilling sovereignties.
Yes.
Incredible.
Oh, amazing.
It's amazing. It's better than I possibly hoped for. It's obviously incoherent, and I'm still apologetic that some people won't have been able to read it that wanted to, but it's really something special.
It is beyond anything I could have imagined.
And we've read some insane stuff here, like you'd say the same thing about Antigua, but Antigua just, the surprising things were the Komodo dragons and sassy cats hitting mice with frying pans, not like the most sex that's ever been in a book ever written ever.
I'm sure there might have been a time where, Larry picked it up, saw it somewhere and was reading it and I thought we were writing some crazy shit. Denise, you got to see this. I am busy writing.
Oh. Well, I think we should do with some dumb sentences. All right, these are our dumb sentences, and again, you close your eyes and throw a dart, and you're gonna pick a great one. But this is what we've got today. This first one is from Balaji. This wave wreaks havoc on any internal organ, which would result in death in a matter of 3 minutes. Along with a severe pain. He said, but other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? Ross submitted, I don't know if we covered this one. Even ordinary appearance alone, that vitalizes sensual stimulant between woman and man, triggers its opposite gender's libido if the appearance fits to stimulate a form of id residing in the unconscious. A certain appearance vibrates a certain id devastatingly. That might have been the Valentine card we were talking about.
Oh, yes.
Lucian submitted, the appearance of her behavior still stilled like a giant river's quiet flowing. Joel submitted, in the meantime, all of a sudden, she heading into her senior year. And he said, I don't care how horny you are, that doesn't help in suddenly. Brian submitted, prodigious athletic skill and accuracy in a variety of fields, tumbling, jumping, running, and motioning with lightning-quick judgment. I don't know what that means. Motioning, like waving airline airs into their parking spot, into their jetway. I don't know. Janelle submitted, their minds beat palatably.
Oh, wow.
Craig submitted, James murmurously spewed his disgusting contradictions and dubiousness.
Yes.
A great one. Brad submitted, she dynamically influenced Brown University's pep talk on its chit-chatty behavior with significant effect to the incoming class. Mike submitted, James opened his mouth half smiling and half frowning.
Ooh.
That's a good visual challenge. He said, only Batman villains could do that. Jim submitted, she also made a plan of how to contact the candidate, how to engage in the coitus, and how to routine the affairs. He said E.L. James could only dream of writing something so romantic. We talked about most of the ones I came up with, but this one I don't think we did. The torpid aggressiveness, he likes that word, torpid. The torpid aggressiveness of her idiosyncratic character had been stimulated when the preying behavior underneath her calm composure was brought out into the surface.
Wow.
Don't know what it's really referring to, but
there is, I have one more, but it is it's Tysian at some levels where you're like, he's putting in words. I'm pretty sure he doesn't know exactly what that means. He's in the area of it. This is just, we discussed it already, but I just like it as James Lee also developed a very unusual respiring organ for staying underwater. So it developed you're just talking about his lungs,
lung capacity,
but it developed, it's like, he grew one of those swim bladders that fish get or something. I don't know.
He's got gills like Kevin Costner in Waterworld.
Oh, right.
The sea lion.
He can drink his own pee.
Oh, man. Well, I think that's it. It's an exhausting chapter, and it's just been a lot of stuff left out that we could have been talking about.
Oh yeah, we probably touched on 7% of this.
Yeah. And also that was just four chapters of the book. So thanks to everyone who joined it, who wrote in, who supports the podcast, who came out to see us live. This is going to be quite a journey. We encourage you to take it with us.
If you can find the book, please do. Yeah. It's pretty great.
Yeah, and if you finished it and want to pass it along to someone, even though it's obviously valuable at this point in time, I'd encourage you to do so. So maybe we can set up like a book exchange in the Facebook group or something. That'd be nice.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool.
All right, thanks all.
Thank you very much. See you next time.